So today we are going to be making a sausage gumbo recipe. For this recipe, we will need olive oil, flour, andouille or other spicy sausage, smoked, it's already cooked, frozen okra, frozen peppers and onions, 3 stalks of celery, some chicken broth, some cayenne pepper to spice it up, a little bit of salt, and a can of diced tomatoes. We also will need our measuring spoons, our wooden spoon, a knife, a measuring cup, and it's always good to have a cutting board to protect your counter. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to prepare all our things so that when we're ready to cook, we can just cook. We don't have to worry about preparing. So the first thing I'm going to do is open my can of tomatoes, and I'm just going to go over here and make a little bit of noise. And I have my open can of tomatoes. I am going to measure out 2 cups of chicken broth. Now, my measuring cup only measures 1 cup. So, I am going to measure it into another container. So we have 1 cup, and I'm going to pour that into this other container. And here's my 2nd cup. Now, of course, if you have a 2-cup measuring cup, you can pour it all into the 2-cup measuring cup and not have to pour it into another container. But that is my 2 cups of chicken broth. Now we're going to chop our celery into about 1/2 inch slices. So a 1/2 inch, it doesn't have to be exact, but a 1/2 inch is about that much on your finger. So what I'm going to do, because some of the celery is kind of big on the end, I'm going to actually cut it down the middle first. And then I'm just going to stack 2 of them together and just slice it. We always want to keep our fingers away from the knife as we slice. And the slices don't have to be perfect. Cooking's about having a good time and eating good food. It's not about being perfect. Sometimes it's more fun to find the great big slices. So we'll continue to chop them all up. Just a little bit more. Oh, see, I sliced that one in half, but that's okay. Perfectly fine. So those are my sliced celery. I'm going to move these out of the way, and I'm going to use another one of these little cutting boards. It's always a good idea to cut meat and vegetables separately. In this recipe it doesn't matter so much, mainly because our meat is already cooked, but for kitchen safety, having a separate cutting board for your meat and your vegetables is a very good idea. So I opened up the package of the andouille sausage. Oh, that smells so good. That is going to be a tasty sausage. So I'm just going to kind of line them up next to each other like this so that I can cut them all at the same time. If this is not easy to do, you can certainly chop them one at a time. Okay? So to make it a little bit quicker for today, I'm just going to cut them all at the same time. Oh, look at that. I left that guy out. He must have thought that I didn't want him. And again, maybe 1/2 inch, maybe a little bit more. It's not a big deal. We can cut them, and if they're a little bit too big, we'll have to chew a little harder once we're eating. Alright, so now my sausage is all cut up. Now, we're going to heat up this pan. Now, I heard something that is very important, and it will help you to cook very well. You heat up your pan first. Hot pan, cold oil, food doesn't stick. Can we say that together? Hot pan, cold oil, food doesn't stick. Okay, so I'm going to heat this up till the pan gets warm. Don't touch the pan because it's going to get hot, but if you put your hand a little bit above it, you can feel it starting to warm up. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get my olive oil. And I have 2 measuring spoons here. One is a 1 tablespoon and one is actually a 2 tablespoon. So we can either use 2 of the 1 tablespoons or 1 of the 2 tablespoons. I'm going to make it easy for myself and I'm going to use the 2 tablespoon. And I'm just going to pour the oil into my measuring spoon until it's full all the way up. Make sure you're doing this over the pan because we certainly don't want the oil to get onto the burner. Alright, now I'm going to put that oil right in there and just continue to let it heat up a little bit. So while that's heating, I'm going to take my 1 tablespoon measure and I'm going to get my flour. So I'm going to take 1 tablespoon at a time, and I'm going to use the back of a butter knife to smooth off the top. I want it kind of smooth. And we're going to put that flour right in with that oil. Ready? It's going to sizzle a little bit. And we're going to do another one. So that's 2 tablespoons of oil to go into my 2 tablespoons of flour that goes into my 2 tablespoons of oil. And I'm going to stir that up. Now this is what's called a roux. A roux is just a fancy French word for butter and flour. Now we want to turn down the heat because we certainly don't want to burn it. Okay? And we're going to stir, 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 and keep stirring this. And what we want is we want this to turn kind of a chocolatey brown color. I'm going to turn this and I hope you can see it a little bit better here. And we're going to continue to stir, stir, stir until it becomes kind of a milk chocolatey brown color. A little darker than caramel, a little lighter than a dark chocolate. And what we're doing here is we are just cooking the flour. Now to get back to what I was saying before, roux is just a fancy French word for what we're doing right here. It actually means ginger, which is kind of like a red color. So we want it to be kind of reddish brown, and we're just going to keep stirring this. We want to stir it until it's, like I said, a milk chocolatey color. Just keep stirring. I'm going to use a different spoon. I started out with this square-headed one, but it's not getting into the corner, so I'm going to use a round one. So around, there we go. Now we've got it into the edges of this, and we can stir. And we want to do this about on a medium heat. We don't want it to burn, but we also don't want it to not cook. We would like it to cook. So we're just going to continue stirring. I'm going to turn my fan on here, just real low, just to get some of the smoke out of here. I hope that sound isn't too annoying to you guys. I'm just going to keep stirring. I'm going to turn this fan off again. So we're getting pretty close to that color that we want. A kind of milk chocolate, almost like a Hershey bar color. Okay. So now we're going to take our chicken broth and pour it in. Now this is going to steam. Watch this. So we always want to keep our heads and our hands away from the top because we don't want to be burned by that steam. Okay? So we're going to continue to stir this in. And then we're also going to take our tomatoes and we're going to pour everything that's in the can, we're going to pour it right in here. I'm going to turn the heat up on this a little bit higher. We want to cook this until it comes to a boil. And we're just going to stir it so that all our roux gets mixed in with our soup, our chicken broth, and with our tomatoes. And while we're waiting for this to come to a boil, I just want to talk to you a little bit about some of these safety things that we need to think about always. We always want to make sure that our pan handle is away from the edge, because if it's turned around like this, then I'm going to bump right into it and end up losing all my food off onto the ground and probably burn myself. So we want to keep that pan handle. Now if it's hard for you to reach, you can keep your pan handle here. That's perfectly fine. Okay? So just continue to stir until it comes up to a boil. While I'm waiting for this to boil, I'm just going to put my handle right there. I'm going to put my knife over here so that we can clean it up. I'm going to clean up my little mess that I made with my flour. Take all the things that I used today and get them ready to be cleaned up. Put my oil away. We'll put my tomato can into my recycling and put these away. And we'll also, let's see, this does not get recycled, so that'll go in my garbage. And we're going to give this another little stir over here. It's almost to where we want it to be. And again, while we're waiting for that, we'll just put that right here. And I am going to open up my packages here. I have my cut okra. And I'm just going to use kitchen scissors because it makes it nice and easy to open it, and it's easier to open than with a knife. And I'm going to open my pepper and onion blend. Now, when I went to the store, I couldn't find a package that only had 8 ounces. Oh, and be careful if you ever put your spoon like that because it got hot. So a better way to do that is to have a little spoon rest. And I'm just going to use a dish for my spoon rest, and I'm going to put my spoon over there because that's another safety thing that we need to consider. We don't want to burn ourselves. So I'm going to put that right there. As I was saying, when I went to the store, they didn't have 8 ounces of cut okra, they had 12 ounces. So even though this isn't the same amount, I'm going to put it all in there. And the reason is, we like okra in my family. If you don't want as much, you can just put a little bit of that in. So we're going to go ahead, now that it's boiling, see the bubbles? We're going to go ahead and put our cut okra in there. We're going to put our pepper and onion blend in there. We're going to put our sausages in there. And we're going to put our celery in here. And give this a little bit of a stir. And now comes the fun part. We are going to add the spice. Now, actually first I'm going to add my salt. We want to add a half a teaspoon of salt. So that's my little half teaspoon measure. I'm going to put that right in there. Okay, and then our recipe calls for 1/4 of a teaspoon of cayenne. So I've got my 1/4 teaspoon measure, and I'm just going to shake off the extra, and I'm going to put that in here. Now, if you don't like things spicy, you can just put a teeny tiny bit. A gumbo usually has a little bit of spice. If, on the other hand, you like things very spicy, what I'm going to suggest to you is that you wait until everything's cooked, then taste it, and use a regular spoon, not your stirring spoon, but a regular spoon to taste, and then you can add a little bit more spice. You can always add more spice, you can't take it away. We're going to cover this, and we're going to wait and cook it until it's cooked through, and that is going to take about 10 minutes, and we want to do that on medium heat, and that is going to be a wonderful dish to serve your family.